It's time for today's episode of the UGA Sports Live Podcast, recorded in front of a slightly tipsy studio audience at world-famous Champy's Fried Chicken. We will have the latest on Georgia Bulldogs football, basketball, and recruiting. Watch live and send us your questions on the 11 Alive Sports page on Facebook. Be advised this podcast is off the record and not safe for work. Also, be sure to subscribe to the UGA Sports Live Podcast on iTunes and Google Play.
Hey everybody, welcome to the UGA Sports Live Podcast. My name is Roddy Nabulsi. I am joined by Jake Roos and Hall of Fame coach Jim Donnan, former head coach of the University of Georgia Bulldogs. We are live from Champy's on Baxter Street. We are doing the show here like we do every Tuesday at noon. Although we got some, we're going to have to miss a few shows going forward. Next Tuesday we have the 5-Star Challenge in Atlanta. We are going to have a ton of information next week when we have the best players in the nation come to Mercedes-Benz Stadium to go head-to-head.
And if you're not a subscriber, hold out because next week
they always run a promotion.
Might get a little sweet deal.
Here's the thing: we have
what day is that?
It's next Tuesday.
So you're gonna be over there?
Yeah, Monday we will have news because when the players all fly in, we do all these interviews. So Monday you get all these great updates. You know, you find out where these kids are leaning. We're gonna have a ton of Georgia updates. A lot of Georgia targets will be there, and then Tuesday they go head to head. So we will be busy covering that. So we won't have a show next Tuesday. The following week is 4th of July. Champy's is closed that week, folks. I know it breaks your heart, but Champy's is closed that week, so we will not be here that week either. So, anyway.
You're actually going to give us a week off, too? Wow. Normally, you just take the week off, and then we keep going.
Normal, but, hey, it works out for Georgia recruiting because when I'm gone, Georgia gets commits.
That's true.
So you stay employed, so it works out really well. Speaking of being employed, these are the companies that help us stay employed. Athens Ford, out on Atlanta Highway, fantastic sponsors of the show and the website. Of course, Aaron Overhead Doors, who's offering a 10% off for UGA fans.
No kidding.
What company does that? 10% off? I mean, you can save a heck of a lot of money just for being a UGA fan. That's a company that takes care of people. Of course, Your Pie, we've had people all over the country sending us their Your Pie stories. We'll share a few of those later on. Academia Brewing Company, one of the best places to eat in Athens, and their beer is going everywhere. I'm starting to see it all over the place. So the Academia Brewing Company is selling a ton of beer everywhere. And, of course, Cable East, who supports us for no good reason other than Robert Wall is a fine human being. And, of course, we're actually on the 365 Game Day page. Go ahead and like them. If you need gear, if you're going to the beach and you want a new cooler or you want a new you want any gear or anything like that, swing by 365 Game Day and pick that up. You need that. So, big recruiting weekend this past weekend.
Definitely.
Why don't you give us a little recap?
Yeah, it was several official visits in, and one that I think a lot of people were looking forward to for some time. We did the official visit preview prior to it. Kendall Milton in town for his official visit. Andrew Rame, all of these guys, rivals, 250 guys. Milton, obviously a 5-star running back, one of the most wanted running backs in the nation for any team, but Georgia especially pushing hard for his services. Rame came in with those guys. I think that was good to get him in town. He's a major target for Georgia as well. People really interested to see, is he going to, end up getting out of the state of Oklahoma? It looks like maybe a decision coming for him soon now, so we'll be looking forward to that. Malik Carr, we had a story up with him yesterday in addition to the Kendall Milton stories.
Who's Malik Carr?
Malik Carr, 4-star, 155 in the nation, 6'5" receiver, and former teammate of Dwan Mathis. He got a chance to hang out with Dwan. Said Dwan's a little bit frustrated with all the health stuff that he's had to deal with, but he's really thankful to be alive. So it was great to hear that. Jalen Conyers also made it into town, 4-star tight end out of Texas. Sounds like things went well with him. And then you had Josh Braun, who committed prior to the visit and then came in and had the chance to work with some of these guys and get to pitch them. So
you had Josh Braun and Andrew Rame, two offensive tackles.
Rame's probably a guard.
Rame, okay. So last week we have the news that Josh Braun is now, 6'6", 360 pounds. He is now a Georgia Bulldog. He wanted to get it done beforehand. Were they really pushing for Rame? I mean, Rame's one of the best linemen in the nation.
I really think so. I think that everything I've heard says that they really like him. I know that our guy Josh McHouston out at the Sooner site, our sister site over there, said that he's the best offensive lineman he's covered in the state of Oklahoma ever. So
that's high.
Yeah, that's not bad. That's not bad.
How long has that guy been working? 2 weeks? I think the guy's a good player, but to say the best player ever in Oklahoma,
he said he was the best offensive lineman that he's ever covered.
How long is he out of high school?
Josh's been around a while.
He's been around.
So that's
every one of the OU's linemen just got drafted from the last draft.
Yeah.
Whew, that's a tremendous statement. I hope he's even in the area code on that. I mean, that's great.
That's one of those dangerous things to put out there.
They redshirted a guy from Southmore last year that's 6'7", 340 that can't miss player. But I think it's great that these guys make these statements. But when you say best ever, it's hard to do it. But I will say, I saw two of the best looking kids last week at our camp that I've ever seen. And Sewell and Caleb Williams. Sewell, everybody knows, a linebacker from Orem, Utah, who was unofficial visit and, worked out and then, got all the bells and whistles around here. And if everybody would just envision Kendrell Bell at about 30 more pounds, and that's what this kid looks like. And even Kirby mentioned that. So. And then Caleb Williams, the quarterback from up in D.C., Gonzaga High School, was here and was here for a workout and, look around. His dad was with him. And just an outstanding arm, good quickness. I watched the tape afterwards because I hadn't seen him. And I would say this, there's been – how many UGAs are there?
10.
Yeah, they're on 10 now. Is that right?
Both these kids would make all 10 of those guys break their chains. I mean, I would
just go back to this. You got the number 2 inside linebacker in the nation, in Sewell. He's out of Utah. You got a story on
who's one Flo?
Flo, yes. Yeah.
So number 2 inside linebacker. I mean, that's 1-2 splitting hairs, but this is a kid that you're saying – you in your story, 260 pounds.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. I mean, and that's the thing is he kept commenting to us. I said, what was the message from Kirby and Glenn Schumann? And he said the thing they kept saying to me was that they could not believe how I was moving around from my size.
Well, let me just give you a little visionary here from the old coach here, because it was just a lark that I saw both these guys. Alandis Gary, who played for me, all the fan stuff, was here came down to bring his son Joshua, who's going rising 10th grader, up in. He's a receiver, and he's going to be a good player. He's a little undersized right now, but he asked me to come over there and just see him and watch him a little bit. So I was able to go around and, watch him, but also just happened to see these other kids when you were there, and it's not – it's a lot of parents out there, a lot of people. Yeah. But as you walk down through into the indoor building, there's that adjacent area where they're going to build the 3-story new building, that's going to be unbelievable. 36,000 square foot weight room.
Holy
just
crap.
Unbelievable, all kind of stuff. But out there, before the kids our own team was coming out to do some agility drills. In the early part of it, I got to see this kid work out a little bit when I'm talking about Sewell. But there was a football out there, and there's another kid with him. I don't know if it was who the other kid was, but they were just out there screwing around like most kids do, I mean, just in your backyard. But he was taking that ball, going through his legs, going behind his back, bouncing it off the ground, spinning it on his finger at 260. And then he was going around and just bouncing around, jumping up and down like anybody would have fun out there. Then he just rolled out and threw the ball to the right and rolled out. I mean, this skill level that just unbelievable for a kid that big. And the thing that just was overwhelming for me about him was how much fun he was having by himself. Nobody else out there. He was enjoying the day. And, of course, as you mentioned, Coach Schumann was all over him. Coach Lanning, Coach Smart. Jonas Jennings was doing a great job with the family, along with Schumann's wife was out there. And this is an unofficial visit. And then Caleb Williams, I just want everybody to go online and watch that kid. I mean, I feel like I can evaluate a quarterback.
Yep. I
really believe
that
his skill level is such that you just don't find many guys his size. He's not overwhelming height, but to have the velocity and touch he has, and the quickness and the escapability, and just a good kid. I mean, he didn't know me from anybody, and I would expect him.
Everybody knows who
but
you
I
are,
just
Coach.
happened to
Come on.
walk by the kid on my way over to another area, and he came up to him and said, "How you doing?" Just walked up, said, "How you doing?" I mean, you don't find that from. I mean, just I like that leadership part.
It's a leader of men right there.
Right there. I mean, just the fact he did that. But this show today, I would say, if we could get either one of those kids, I mean, just mind-boggling to me because of the kind of and then the family of Sewell was here, and Samoan background, and they were just grinning and having fun, and that, I mean, just a good family. Just makes you feel good to see them so proud of their son, but at the same time, so it was just luck that I was able to see both of them, but it's also good to share this because I don't think I'm sharing anything outside the realm of secrecy, but I think it's just good to know that we're after those kind of kids from out of state, you know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely.
And the other thing that's really saying, I think, that I'm going to give some love to Coach Smart is I used to tell my coaches when we had kids come into camp, you need to coach every kid like you were paying your son to go somewhere for the camp. Give them their money's worth. Well, we have the smaller camp where there's a lot of kids in there, and they really do a good job. And it starts out with the organization with Josh Lee, does a good job, and his staff, and then comes back with then you have the 7-on-7 part, and then you have the offensive line camp and the kickers and all that. But Marshall Malco works it out and talks to the coaches about bringing kids in here. And throughout the course of a day, we'll bring 60, 70 kids in over a 10-day period and work them out that are adjunct to the camp itself. And every one of those kids, to me, felt like he was the only one in the camp. The attention they were getting, just the detail, everything about it. Because I watched stuff like that. And, of course, Kirby was going around making sure everything. And the one thing that just stood out about everything, this one elderly lady was there, but probably a grandmother that was there watching her son, and she was down there on field 3, which is way down there on Lumpkin. And, that's a long way to walk.
Sure.
And somebody had the wherewithal to drive a cart down there and pick her up and take her out. Now, to me, that's being what you got to do. And her grandson, probably not even a 1-star player, you know what I mean? But that's pretty dang good.
Yeah, absolutely.
I like the way they treat all the kids and the family.
Well, I want to mention something that I read in your recaps talking to these top players. You've had a ton of stuff. We had Kendall Milton.
Yep.
Had the Kendall Milton come into town, and what his dad said, what he said, what a bunch of the other top players said. They all talked about that family feel.
That was the consistent thread that we got from all of these guys.
And honestly, I've kind of thought that the whole
– you can't fake that.
Well, and to your point, I mean, we've always heard about the Auburn-Alabama dilemma for kids out of Alabama. Alabama feels like, okay, hey, come be a professional. This is how you get – if you want to be a professional, come practice it now. And then Auburn's always countered that with, hey, no, come be a part of the family. You're not just a name, and I mean, you're not just a number. We really care about you. And I don't say that Auburn cornered that, but you hear more about it there. Then the Clemson has pushed on that a lot. And so when you hear that starts circulating around Georgia, you're thinking, wait, is this in response to it now? Don't get me wrong. Georgia kids have always said Georgia felt like a family to them.
But you can't fake that.
That's my point. You're stealing my thunder there because I want to say, look, you can't just market it as family. These kids have to believe it.
Yeah.
And with what they did with Kendall Milton's that little
the edit with the great grandfather, what I really appreciated was the candor that Chris Milton spoke to Anthony Dasher with, and he said, look, there was a way that this could have been construed as offensive. He said,
Absolutely.
If this were not done,
Pandering.
if this were not done tactfully, but he said, the way they did it, it felt like a real honor, and it felt like a family reunion. That was what he said, and I
it's the little things, though. I mean, it's the little things, and
like
this is just not show here just to back UGA. I mean, obviously everybody.
If they had done a pandering thing right there, I'd be calling them out on it.
Everybody listens or watches this show as UGA, but at the same time, if there's something that needs to be brought out, we'll bring it. But I'm telling you right now, we got a very organized system of going after players, evaluating players, and I can tell you this: if I'd have had, and I feel like I can evaluate a guy, but if I'd have had a chance to start bringing guys in the 9th grade like they do, and some of them 8th grade, and then keep coming here and seeing how they develop, I mean, it's hard to miss on a guy. That's why we turned down some guys. I mean, I remember my last year, we had Rivers, we had David Green. I mean, in camp, we had all these guys in camp, and these receivers with them, Darrell Robinson, Reggie Brown. And, boy, you get those guys out there and you throw to each other and see that, you can get a good idea about it. But the last thing I'm going to say about this camp that was so good to me was our players. Because every time I saw a guy that maybe somebody pointed out to me, beside those 2 really good ones, and those guys go around and, they can't do anything with the players, but they go over and watch them. Our players are over there making them feel good. I mean, when you see Jacoby Dean go over there and wrap his arm around a linebacker, you see Mays go up to an offensive lineman. I mean, those are things that makes – if I'm a kid walking into campus, hey, say, I can fit in with these guys. They didn't have to do that. And it wasn't like a coach going, hey, look, see that cover in the corner and shake his hand, will you?
Yeah.
I mean, this is on their own type stuff.
Yeah.
But I'm sure the coaches told them they were coming and all. But if you're going to create a family atmosphere, you got to have genuine – and kids can see that, because you got to remember, as soon as Sewell left here, he'd already been to Alabama and Clemson. Then he was going to Tennessee. So, I mean, everything he does, he's comparing it,
Absolutely. And he mentioned in our story, it's very interesting you say, the players seeking these guys out, because he said one of the things that stood out to me the most was the brotherhood of this linebacker room. He said there's really no differentiating between the stars, the seniors, and guys who are just walk-ons. He said they bring those guys with them just like they're, the same 5-star guy. There's no exclusionary air about this program right now. These guys are very, very tight.
And I do want to say something for people who've never played football. You can have cliques on a team. You can have.
Yeah, I'm sure that's that way everywhere.
Yeah, and sometimes you have that kind of entitlement attitude. Hey, we're the 5-star linebackers that Georgia recruited. You're a walk-on. We're not going to call you to go out to eat with us.
Sure.
You have just in the position, but when you have a kid like Sewell come in and say, hey, look, they take the walk-ons with them everywhere they go, that impressed him.
Right.
And you like that. So, again, my overall point about what you were saying was, when you have a kid come to Georgia, he's obviously camping, he's paid his money if he's a young kid, or if he's a kid that Georgia's just trying out, he's not going to make it, but he gets treated that way. He gets that one-on-one attention, from the coaches, from the other players.
Right. I'll tell you another thing I like.
It makes it genuine.
I like, too, was you got a guy like Tate Ratledge, 5-star player, probably his highly recruited lineman, Paris Johnson maybe, and he could have been doing anything last weekend, but he came down here with Braun,
and he's doing it consistently. You're seeing him here almost every single weekend that they've got players on campus.
You think he might have met some girl here or something? That's okay, but I like the fact that did that picture? That was another picture that just overwhelmed me. Those 2 guys together.
Come on now.
I mean,
you can make that work.
You put that on a Mount Rushmore of recruiting pictures.
Absolutely. Yeah, you can make that work for sure.
I mean, Braun made Ratledge look – Ratledge looks awesome, but Braun, man.
He's the mountain. He really is. He's close to being that for sure. We got a bunch of questions.
Let's go.
I want to hop into all of them, but first I want to give a shout-out to one of our sponsors.
Well, I want to mention our friends over at Aaron Overhead Doors. I put up a new ad for them on the front page of UGASports. See, y'all want me to talk so y'all can eat.
Right.
You slackers. For you folks watching at home, or if you're listening to this and you're not actually watching it, the minute I start talking about one of our advertisers, these guys dig into the Champy's food here. I've been set up. I've been hoodwinked. I've been flim-flammed. bastards. So I put up a new ad for Aaron Overhead Doors. It's on the front page. And I want you to, if you get a chance, click on their website because it's really impressive. You go to UGASports or go to their thing. And right at the bottom it says, Dog Fans, 10% off. Do you realize if you're getting, you need a $1,000 garage door put in your house, you can save $100? 10% off for being a Georgia fan.
And
Who does that?
Now listen, even if you're an Auburn fan or a Tech fan,
Claim you're
go
a
out
Georgia fan.
go out and buy a $7 Georgia hat, and
From
when they come
365
out
game
from
day.
365 game day, and then when they come out, you get your 10%.
I'm not saying scam, right? Those folks at Aaron Overhead Doors, but who does that? Who gives 10% off? 10%, not like a 2% or something like that. So they'll give you a 10th off of whatever they do for you, and it's going to be top flight service and sales and response from those folks. But just for being a Georgia, I told you this guy is a huge Georgia fan. There's a reason he advertises on this show. We had somebody tease us going, why do you have some random garage door company advertising on your site? I'm like, well, one, he's a giant overhead door company. It's not like it's a mom and pop operation. This guy's he's buying vehicles from Athens Ford left and right to keep up with it, and they're always looking for people.
Sure.
So it's a huge corporation. A huge company, but they treat you like family. So if you get a chance, swing by there or hit them up. You can actually book your appointment online. And then when they come out, just happen to drop in the fact that you're a Georgia fan, 10% off. Nobody else does that.
That's not bad.
What else is good, though? Our invaluable controller over there, he's pretty tight on who he lets sponsor this thing.
Absolutely.
Hey, we have more people than spots. Just like Georgia.
We're like Georgia. Yeah.
Like
No bragging there, but hey,
we've had people say, hey, I want to advertise on your podcast, and we kind of look into it, and I'm like, I can't. And it's nothing mean. I'm just saying, look, I don't think you'd be a good fit. Or
we try to. It's like the CBS broadcast. We just have very few commercial.
Oh, we're
breaks.
like the Masters. Yeah, absolutely.
We know most of our show is playing through.
Yeah.
We need to get that music.
Well, we do. I do want to mention we are going to have a new sponsor come on. Somebody I've met with them multiple times. It's Georgia Game Day Centers. Now, that's the huge building in downtown Athens.
Yeah,
it's
absolutely.
all those condos. They have, I think it's close to 200 units. 70 of those units, you can rent them. The owners actually rent them out, almost like an Airbnb type thing.
Yeah.
So if you're coming to Athens in the summer,
And have you been up in them?
Oh yeah, they're legit.
That's the good one. That's a good place to spend the weekend.
Right.
I'm telling you.
It's beautiful, and they have their own shuttle to the stadium. But if you're coming for a game, you're coming for a wedding, you're coming for the. I think we have there's a big church convention in town. Throughout the year, those spots are available, and they are just as, I don't want to say inexpensive. Renting those places out is just as easy as staying at the Holiday Inn.
Sure.
But you get a Georgia-themed hotel with Georgia-backed owners, your fellow dog fans.
Crazy amenities, and you're in the heart of downtown. You've got all the
everywhere,
all the enjoyment of nightlife.
Exactly. So you don't have to worry about an Uber getting you home or anything like that.
That's right.
We'll mention more about that later, and upcoming shows when we come back from our little midsummer break here. But Georgia Game Day Centers, I'm just mentioning them now, even though we haven't finalized anything. But if in case you need a place to stay for a wedding this summer, or they're also going to be doing some stuff during the away games.
Sure.
So if you want to come to town, let's say you're not going to the Vanderbilt game.
That's when it's fun to be here.
How about that? They came out the early line on our game. We're 24-point favorites.
Oh, my God. All right. Deborah,
I can't wait to tell Kirby that one.
Deborah Marshall says, hi from Auburndale, Florida. Go Dogs. Appreciate that, Deborah. Thanks for tuning in
Deborah.
so much. Jonathan Allen says, it's not how fast you mow, it's how well you mow fast.
Really?
I like that. Damian Cox, will you have a show the week of the 4th? We will be off that week, Damian. Wanted to let you know for
July
sure.
the 4th?
Yeah. CJ Oren says, do you expect Kendall Milton will commit before August? I'm going to say there's definitely a chance of that happening. The big thing for Kendall is he wants to get all the official visits out of the way first. So he's still got, I think, one more after this left on the docket, if I'm not mistaken. This is a big one to Alabama, so you can never count that out. But it's. I think after that, he's going to take some time with his family to reflect. I don't know that we've got a clear timeline on it just yet, but I do think there's a very good chance that after or before the season, he gets this thing done.
If you're in a time machine or something like 10 years ago and somebody would ask that question about a 5-star back, will he commit in July? I mean, it's just a different ball game
Absolutely.
now. You know, I mean, and it's a good question because he has most of his visits out of the way, and we were able to chronicle a lot about him from spring practice with his dad and himself here when I told you he looked just like Todd Gurley standing over there. But I just think it's we're in a good position, but we're going against the dictator.
You're going up against great competition for these top players. You know, when you went to the Corky Kell Classic.
I did.
And you got to understand, 7 years ago, when we would go to the Corky Kell 7-on-7, we would be talking to 20.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
Georgia targets,
no question.
At least, you know. Now it's
You know how many I had on my list?
How many?
4 kids to talk to. 2 of them weren't there, so I got to talk to 2.
But how many will you talk to at the Rivals thing now?
Oh yeah, no, and because they're coming from all over.
But that's the point. Right now, and this isn't to say that
will
Georgia's
Milton
not,
be there at the Rivals thing?
He is
or is he
registered
going to
be
opening?
there. Well, he'll probably go to both because it's not an either-or situation. We're good a week ahead of that. So we have a lot of guys who are coming to the Rivals camp that will the following week go to the opening. He is registered, I'm pretty sure. But until he has a ticket in hand, we don't say they're coming. We want to know that, hey, here's his flight, here's his seat, you know. But we got.
So how does that work out? Do y'all pay for him to come?
We do.
Oh yeah.
Yep. Full expenses paid.
So you give me some gas money? Just kidding.
Yeah, but the point being, that's what we need. We have to have all these kids from around the country come because in years past, I could, give Jake, here's $50, go see 10 kids in the state of Georgia. Georgia's now recruiting so far coast to coast. You're talking to a kid in Utah. You're talking to a kid in Arizona State. You're talking to a kid in Rhode Island. You're talking to a kid in California.
Got a kid from official visit in this weekend from right now.
Right outside of Boston.
From Mass.
Yeah, right outside of Boston.
So we need Delta to come be a sponsor. Just for tickets so I can fly him out with the seat. Well, we had to fly you down to Florida.
Flew down to Florida and drove back.
To talk to 5 kids down there.
That was a good deal, though. He talked to Carter. He talked to Braun. Who else? He talked to the quarterback.
Yes, Beck and as well as Avante Williams.
But the point being, Georgia's now going so far coast to coast.
We need Delta on here. Can you think Delta?
That's what I'm saying. Come on, Delta.
All right, we got.
We just need a trade out.
Gerald Shepard says, "Rowdy, will you please turn your mic up a little bit?" So thanks for the heads up there, Gerald. We appreciate it, buddy. Phil Rogers says, "How many DL will Georgia take in this class?" I think you've got to look at the numbers already in place. You got 4 committed. It's really going to depend, I think, on if all those guys end up sticking throughout. How things play out. I think at this situation, at this point, you probably take 1, maybe 2 more, but. Like I said, there could be some fluctuation within that commitment list. Don't be surprised if there is.
I just don't think one thing about these boards, which, it's good to have conjecture, but I don't think somebody just random thought saying, well, I don't know if we'll be able to take this guy that's committed. I think that's got to be the coach saying that, and you don't want that to get back to a kid or something, you know what I mean?
Absolutely.
But, we got a situation like I would think, Birch, Hardy – who were the other ones?
Yeah, Zykevius Walker, who just had the great workout a couple weeks back. You got a kid like Eric Taylor, who's a Rivals 250 kid out of the Birmingham area with Athens ties. He's looked at Georgia really
those
heavily.
Are the 4 probably, aren't they?
I would say that's probably what you're working with.
Would you say Birch is leaning to South Carolina?
It looks that way right now, yeah.
But what about Hardy? Where's he?
He has really not started to narrow things down so much yet, so it'll be interesting. I think he's a kid who's going to take this pretty well into the season.
Good-looking kid.
He is. He definitely is.
But I'm going to tell you this, too, from the old coach, because one of the reasons we want you to stay on this program from the first to the middle is throw your little stuff out. While I was at the camp,
yes, sir.
just a couple of guys just happened to be there that are coming in.
Such as?
This 2020 class.
Yeah.
Who was the last guy that committed to us defensive line from IMG?
Warren Brinson.
Oh, he was there. I thought it was Marcus Stroud.
Wait a minute.
I mean, the kid walked by me. I'm serious now. I'm standing there, and in the course of like 3 minutes there, I said hello to Caleb Williams, and then Brinson walks by, and just came and said, "How's it going?" Shook my hand. I said, "How you doing?" I mean, wow. I mean, we can talk about everybody worried about our defensive line. When you think about him and Carter, and then watching, which the end of the show, stay on and make sure you remind me there, Dave, to go over the other part that I was able to watch that I'm going to say is I was able to watch our team work out doing agility drills, and we'll talk about that. But Brinson, wow. What an eyeball test to take that kid.
Now, that's some strong words. You start dropping Marcus Stroud.
Well, I mean, he's
people.
not Marcus Stroud playing, but I'm talking about big Marcus Stroud.
Sure.
And then I saw Brock Vandegrift. He wasn't working out, but, boy, impressive-looking kid just there for the day, and then he's been around everywhere. But I noticed that he's been ranked the number one guy.
Just named number one player in the nation.
And he's right here 5 miles from our campus. So, good-looking kid. His dad was there, the coach, and very pleasant guy.
Yeah,
I got
great
to say hello to
family.
him. But so it was a good day for me as far as just uneventful. Didn't really see much. Did I?
You never do.
I want to tell you two things about Brock Vandegrift. One, the kid's tough as nails.
Two, he thinks Rowdy is a coach.
He does. No, he does call me coach all the time. I'm like, no. But when he came to play my son's school, Athens Christian, somehow, being a football team, somebody got underneath his face mask and busted his chin up. I mean, like split it.
Yeah.
He goes over there, sticks a Band-Aid on it, finishes the rest of the game. I mean, I'd have been in the ambulance, getting out of there.
Whoa,
I'm dead.
stitch me.
Exactly. Kid's just like, rub some dirt on it. He also runs track.
Really?
Yeah.
I didn't know.
So you get a quarterback out there. Everyone think, pocket passer. Well, that kid runs a 100-meter dash and then runs a 4x1 for his team. So he's out there. He's fast and he's strong. So if he needs to run,
and he can sling,
and he can sling it. He's. I'm not saying he's super quick. I'm just saying that that's what he does throughout the season. So.
He's playing. He knows how to do it. The other kid I saw that I didn't realize how good he looked either was Zatavius Walker.
Oh, is that? Yeah. At a Sly?
Woo.
Yeah. yeah. He's serious.
So if you could get him in there to come in with Stackhouse, Burroughs, Carter, and Brinson, now you're looking at guys that are going to supplement our – but he was all smiles, walking around, good-looking kid.
And I've told people for a while now, this 2020 class, when it comes to depth at that defensive line position, look, that's been a struggle over the last couple of classes, just nationally, finding those big-bodied guys with that kind of athleticism. It's a deep class this year, and Georgia's making very, very good moves with it.
Brent's, he can move.
So where
Carter can move.
Yeah. You mentioned Zacchaeus Walker because I went down to see him at the track meet, and I was having a hard time where do you put him on the line? Because that looks like a kid who could put on 30 pounds. He looks like he can play tackle.
He's going to be like Lowe.
That's what his head coach said.
He's going to be like Lowe go. I mean, that kid from Tennessee.
Okay.
I mean, he's tall, angular.
Right.
Is going to get bigger, but he can move. Just always makes me feel better to eyeball him.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Chris Metcalf wants to know, has the pit boss gone from recruiting to selecting his guys? I think he's probably not far off. I mean, he's these last couple spots on the offensive line highly contested. I mean, a lot of great players.
It's going to get
for him.
down to things like, those three guys. I mean, who knows what it might be, but you take any of the three. I mean, you're talking about
one of the best players in America.
Hey, all three of them.
Absolutely.
And, that's why I was asking you right off the bat before we even got past the first 5 minutes of the show. I'm like, so Andrew Rames here, but we've also heard that Cedric Van Pram.
Yep. And then you had Chad Lindbergh about
here.
2 weeks ago. Yeah, 2-3 weeks back.
And I know we've mentioned some shows past, but it's just the fact that answers the question to me is you got one spot for three guys.
That's two rivals 100 guys.
One spot, but you never know. If two of them would drop, you might.
Yeah, you might make it work.
But you also look at it. We also had Rodgers in here. We had Paris Johnson in here. I mean, all the guys, word of mouth, they know about it. And our players do a good job with them, too. And just make sure that when we finish up today, we get that report on the workout. So what's the next question?
Charles Kaiser wants to know, is Eric Gilbert trending away from Georgia, and does Marcus Roseme commit by the end of the month? So he got a 2 for there, Charles. Congratulations. I'm going to say I have heard that things are looking a little shaky with Gilbert. I had felt very confident about Georgia's chances heading into this summer, but since that time, it looks like Tennessee has really, really made some headway, so watch out for the Vols with Gilbert. I think that's a very tight race right now. As for Marcus Roseme, going to be interesting to see how that one shakes out. I do think there's a very good chance that, well, I don't want to say very good, but there's a chance that Georgia does get a commit later this week. I don't know that it's going to be Roseme, though. So
hey, we're after some good receivers,
keep your eyes
right?
open.
I mean, but the thing about Gilbert, you're looking at the top player in the country, and you got, he just went to Alabama. I mean, and he's been over here so much. Who knows when it's going to happen? But we're after the right guys. Him in Washington, and I tell you, Todd Hartley is doing a tremendous job of being out there among the best players in the country. Plus, he's got such good ties to Florida, recruiting the Jacksonville area. I mean, we had some kids up here from Jacksonville that I was looking at I thought they were, these guys are rising sophomores.
Yeah.
That's ridiculous.
I want you to go back to Marcus Roseme. Tell everybody who he is.
Yeah, so you're talking about a Rivals 100 kid. I think he's top 50 player in the nation, top 75 certainly, out of St. Thomas Aquinas down there in Fort Lauderdale, down to Georgia and Florida. Those are his 2 considerations right now. Now, it's really
about Florida A&M, or the University of Florida at Gainesville. That team with all those 5-star players. That team that people are leaving there. I thought they had a kid transferred to Vanderbilt.
They did, yes. Malik Langham, who was a very good player, and was a 4-star pickup for him. So things are getting slim. Anyway, Roseme, a very good player, like I said, a guy who has visited Georgia a lot. I like him in the fit with Georgia. He's a guy who runs really well. I think the best thing about him is he's got good size, and he's a very willing blocker, and he knows he's going to have to do that at Georgia. We spoke to him at Rivals Camp down in Miami. He said, hey, that's what Georgia does. I understand it. I'm with it. So watch out for Roseme for sure.
Tell me about Wren.
Well, that's why I asked you the Roseme question. Now I'm like, okay, so that's one receiver possibility. Now you got this other kid, Corey Wren, who we have as an athlete.
Now, let's
just tell us about Corey Wren.
All right.
No, you just want to eat. No, you answer the question, and I eat.
No, Corey Wren, a kid out of New Orleans, 3-star currently on Rivals, but a guy I think could see his stock rise over the course of this season because he's so fast. You're talking about a 10-300 guy. This is ridiculous speed. Now, not the biggest guy in the world, but, hey, neither was Mecole Hardman. You know what I'm saying? This is one of those guys that you want for your slot position. Now, there's a lot of conjecture about A.J. Henning, perhaps. 4-star kid out of the Chicago area. Will he be the guy to possibly get that spot? I'm leaning toward Wren being the guy. I think that things look good for Georgia in that regard, and I think that he really wants to be there. He's down between Arizona State and Georgia. I like Georgia's chances pretty strong.
Wren?
Yeah.
So Georgia's basically got to beat out Florida for a wide receiver and Arizona State for a wide receiver.
Correct.
Based on the fact that those would be that they are our priorities. Who else do we have, though?
Yeah.
I don't know that. Who else are we on receiver-wise beside those 2?
So another guy to watch for.
I figure we can't take but 2, right?
Another guy to watch for, I do think 2 is going to be the number. Watch for Xavier Henderson. He's another guy to watch. Now, he's out of the Miami area as well. 4-star guy, Rivals 100 guy, I believe. I'll have to double-check that. But Xavier Henderson, look.
One job.
Yeah,
one job.
Yeah, keep up with 80,000 children. So Xavier Henderson, out of the Miami area, just really got his recruitment started. He was a kid we saw up in Murfreesboro at the opening up there in Nashville. He flew up. Basically just said, hey, I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know where I'm going to go. I don't know what visits I'm going to take, but had a chance to put one into Georgia. He's got a Clemson offer. He's got a Bama offer. He's got a Miami offer. Said the real thing for him is that he's not going to play anywhere where it's cold. So I think Georgia would be just fine for him, in that regard. But watch, keep his name circled as well. And then Jermaine Burton is another kid that I think they'll stay on. He's committed to LSU, but they've been on him for a long time.
How about Arian Smith?
Yeah, I think that's a possibility as well. And he's a name we don't hear a ton about. But he's
that's why you listen to the show.
he's another guy. I want to make sure that I get his stats right.
One job.
Yeah. 3-star kid out of Lakeland, Florida, so one of the best programs in the state of Florida. Got some a really good offer sheet, Florida State, Michigan, UNC's in there. So I think that, Florida really wants that kid as well. They want him and Rosemead. They're big on that.
What about Capers?
Capers is going to be interesting. I have always wondered why Georgia didn't press harder for him to begin with, as I did with Javon Baker, who's another guy they recently offered. But Capers decommitted from Arkansas, where he was a long-time commit. A lot of people think that Tennessee is the new favorite for him. Kid out of
Those
Denmark
are
High
guys
School.
that you got on the list. And then Josh Downs going to North Carolina. I mean, he's a good player, too.
Yes,
I mean,
absolutely.
Josh Downs is one of the most athletic kids I've covered in many years.
We got a lot of opportunities there. And it's like, tell me about the running back from Colquitt, Edwards.
Yeah,
I've been
Edwards.
hearing a lot about him lately.
Yeah, I had a chance to see him actually on Saturday at the Corky Kell, Friday at the Corky Kell, 7-on-7. And look, this is a kid, I'm telling you, but keep him on the radar as well, up there with Corey Wren, because I think that he's a guy who Georgia is keeping warm.
Kind of like a Brian Harrion type
He
player.
is, very much so. And I've seen him play in person. Fantastic player. I think I saw him play Brookwood in the playoffs. He ripped off about 4 touchdowns as a sophomore. Incredibly impressive night for him. Georgia, Auburn, Florida State looking like kind of the big considerations there.
Everybody can be 5-star back. I mean, we got 2 5-star backs we're on that we're right in the thick of things with. Hopefully get one of them.
Yep.
And we got to get another back. You got a Batman and Robin situation there. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. Speaking of 5-stars.
Sounds familiar. Speaking of 5-stars, if you check out AthensFord.com, you'll see that they have a ton of 5-star rankings from their customers. Their customers love them. And part of it is because they have these great deals. So now, of course, any vehicle you buy out there, you can get the lifetime powertrain warranty on, of course, any new vehicle. And any pre-owned vehicle under 80,000 miles, which is about 99% of what they have, because they don't do a whole lot of they don't have any clunkers out there. But if they have anything close to 80,000 miles, it's going to be a pristine condition. So if you get a chance, swing by Athens Ford. And here's the cool thing. They have a first responders program. So if you're a first responder and you need a Ford F-150, go out. They will take care of you. They have military discounts. If you're an active duty military member, you can go out there and get a deal, so they take care of them. They also have a student deal. So if you're a student, you can go out there and get a vehicle, and they'll take care of you. So mom, dad, you got a kid at UGA, they need or anywhere else, come out and check out these student discounts. They have a ton of, like I said, huge list of pre-owned vehicles that are all certified. They do a great job on making sure all their stuff's top shelf, top of the line. You get it's going to feel like a new car because, well, it's new to you. But they also clean them up, and the 100-plus point inspections that they do on these makes those certified pre-owned vehicles fantastic. So if you get a chance, swing out there. Right now, they only have 1,046 vehicles left.
How will you decide?
I'm just saying, go get them before they're all gone. So only 1,000 vehicles on lot for you to go out there and choose from. So when you get a chance, swing by Athens Ford out at the west side of Atlanta Highway near Sam's Club.
And Academia Brewing. All right, I want to rapid fire some questions. Chandler Johnson says, is Zach Evans a package deal at Alabama? I think that there is a big possibility that he is with his teammate Damian George out of North Shore High School as well. I think that that's something to watch. Watch out for Texas here as well. That's a school that he did not include in his top list. I could see them backdooring in, and Georgia very much still in this thing as well.
I don't think anymore. It used to be the calf and a cow deal. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Used to do that, but I don't see that anymore. I mean, if they're not going to give up. The guy's
good.
No,
that kid can play.
That guy's good enough.
Definitely.
But obviously he's a friend of his, and it doesn't hurt. But who knows? But I just don't think you do those package deals.
We got, let's see, Jamel Major says, what are the chances that Georgia signs both Zach Evans and Kendall Milton. I'm not going to say that's impossible. I just don't like the chances. I don't think that it's necessary. I think it's going to be an either or. I think those
not
guys.
Holding my breath.
Yeah, I think those guys end up splitting up in the end.
That would be.
I mean, that'd be all right though. If you can make it happen, you'd be plenty happy with it.
It just is awesome though to be in that position where those two guys that are from so far away that we're right in the mix for both of them. You know what I mean?
No question.
The thing that worries me about, and this goes back to my days at Oklahoma, boy, if there's a kid in Texas that Texas and Texas A&M really wants.
That's tough.
I mean,
they're tough.
I mean, I'm not accusing anything there. I'm just telling you that the kid's from Houston, Texas, and for him to leave the state, it's going to be a big deal for him to get out of there.
I agree.
But the fact that, and I give Dale McGee a lot of credit. Well, he's on that kid his junior year. He was down. Sophomore year, he was down there. You know, we were getting ready to go out to the Rose Bowl, and he was over there in Houston on the way. I mean, he was all over that kid.
CJ Oren says, any thoughts on Justin Robinson taking officials to other schools? Wondering if he doesn't feel like a priority anymore for us after going after Rosemead. I totally disagree with that. I think that he definitely feels like priority status. That was a kid they set out from the get-go that they wanted. So definitely Georgia's still in on Justin Robinson. I think he's a fantastic player. Yeah. And I get it. He's been committed to Georgia for a long time. He wants to get out and take his officials. Good on him.
Sure, but the thing about it, he was over here right out of the box for our camp.
Yep.
I mean, he's been around. It doesn't make all the. I mean, you don't make all your hay on your website talking about guys that are committed day in and day out. It's just the intrigue of the other guy. But I tell you what, he's a heck of a player, and good job recruiting to get that guy. I remember when Kirby flew over there in a helicopter there during in January. I mean, just big time player.
Ronnie Brown here with one for you, Coach.
All right,
says,
Ronnie.
what does it say about Kirby Smart and his staff's ability that they're able to continue stacking talent like Cordwood in the day and age of the transfer portal?
You know,
that's why they have to.
You've got to understand, first of all, that you can't look at a guy about if we bring this guy in here, then maybe somebody's going to transfer, which that can happen. But it's a way of life, Ronnie. It's what's going to happen now. That these kids, particularly the level of players that we have, when you look around and you're working out and you see a guy that, how am I going to beat this guy out? Now, if you're a young guy, maybe you can wait a year or so. But, if the clock's ticking on some sophomores and juniors, they were highly recruited guys at a lot of programs, and it's just a way of life. So I think it just speaks very highly of the fact that our evaluation is spot on, which we went over a little bit today. We do a great job of fact-checking everything about these guys. We're doing a tremendous job of keeping guys in school, which is always going to be a problem at a high-end academic place like Georgia. And the other thing is we're winning on a level and developing these guys that maybe guys will go that extra mile to hang in there with Kirby before they get in the transfer portal. So a lot of good reasons there. But there comes a point where you got to face reality. And the thing that's happened is some of these guys that were recruited in the first two classes that Kirby had are not as good as the guys he's bringing in. That's just the way it is.
But to be fair, some of those in those first two classes, he was a new head coach with no record really. So a lot of kids came in on faith.
Yep.
Some of those bigger names you couldn't pull. But then in year two, he's playing for a national title, playing for SEC championships. They're like, oh, this guy's got it going on. So now all of a sudden, you are able to go head-to-head with the best teams in the country for a kid out of California or Arizona State or Utah or, Boston,
right,
wherever. So he's proven himself.
Yeah.
So I think that has a lot to do with it. Speaking of proving yourself or transferring, I think I'm going to transfer from here. You'll have great chicken here, but I got to go out to Academia Brewing Company and try this. This is our kitchen guy, Keith Kennett. He says, ooh, girl. The Academia Brewing Company blackened shrimp, tomato sausage cream sauce, chives, and lemon twist sit atop a crispy fried grit cake. So you take blackened shrimp, a tomato sausage cream sauce, chives, lemon twist, and put all that on top of a crispy fried cake made out of grits.
I mean, I would eat the grit cake just by itself, but now that you give me all these nice accoutrements, somebody please cut that audio and let's have it when Georgia lands a commit. That's what you play.
That's from Keith Kennett, their kitchen guy. That's what he said when they put this thing together. And you can go out there. You want a nice beer to go with that?
They can hook you up there.
Well, now I'm gonna tell you what their nice beer is. They have a beer out there called Birds Aren't Real.
Okay.
What?
Birds aren't real. It's a conspiracy theory, but
I have heard this. Yeah, I've heard this. Yes, that birds. It's just Google it. I don't know.
But it's a 4.8% strawberry chocolate peanut butter stout.
Now that's a lot going on.
That is a lot. Strawberry, chocolate, and peanut butter in a stout. 4.8%. Tap room only. So this is not something you're in a can. You got to swing out there to Academia Brewing Company. Try that beer. Try the grit cake with the blackened shrimp on top of it. You're going to love it.
All right. Our guy, Fred Sanford, says, what are the chances of having 2 shutdown cornerbacks this year since Campbell has a year under his belt and Stokes seems pretty solid?
I think we got a really good situation at corner, not only from the first group, but then you got Daniels and Stevenson in there, and then you got guys like Speed and McGee and Webb that can play all of the other positions. So our corner situation is the best it's been. Even though we lost Baker, we've got the speed and size to go with our safeties too. And just think overall our athleticism and our speed back there and our recovery. As far as shutdown, who knows? That's hard to have a shutdown corner.
Absolutely.
But
you got some good ones.
We're going to be better against the pass for this reason, because we're going to have more second and long and third and longs this year, because we're going to be better against the run on first down. So I think percentage-wise, you got a lot better chance defending a pass on second and 8 or 9 and second and 3 or 4, because you got to play run and pass. So you see some combo coverages, a lot of different things, but those corners are very good.
We got one here. Dennis Wood says, what about Rakim Jarrett? Don't see him sticking with LSU. We'll see how that goes. I'll be interested to see how that recruitment goes.
Receiver?
Yeah, they've done really well up in that D.C. area this year. So
why didn't he see that?
I don't know. I'm not sure.
Hey, give us some insight there, man. That'd be good. They're counting on him in that burden, aren't they? I mean, they're talking about their top 5 class. I mean,
no question. Joel Moody says, is there a chance if Georgia gets Milton but misses on Evans that they could flip Marshawn Lloyd from South Carolina, or do you think they'll focus on Tank Bigsby? I don't know exactly what the situation is going to be on Tank. I think we're going to learn a lot more about that, because I'm going to give you a little scoop right now. He's in town today.
What?
So, yeah.
Hey, how about letting your boss know?
Who's in town?
Tank Bigsby in town today, visiting.
Is he visiting Georgia?
Unofficial visit today. But on Marshawn Lloyd, I don't see it with Marshawn, and the reason I say that is because I think he kind of showed his cards by picking South Carolina. Not a kid I think is afraid of competition by any regards. I think he just wants to be the man, and he can be the man at South Carolina.
The one thing that's happened to me, I still think South Carolina is not as a big a threat to us as, a couple teams in the West, notwithstanding Alabama, but it's been highly proven. The guys that Will Muschamp got at Florida, he can recruit now. He knows the template. He's been around 2 of the best, 3 of them. He's around Nick and Mac Brown and Tuberville. I mean, he knows how to go get them. And they've got some good recruiters on their staff, and he's got some guys in the state that are finally, competing for those in-state players. They got that kid from Anderson last year, that good defensive lineman, and they're in there on Birch, right there. And so I think the fact that they were able to get Lloyd and prove to him, hey, you're our number 1 guy, as compared to us going after Milton and Evans, but I give them credit for doing a good job recruiting. And they just got an overwhelming schedule now. You talk about Ben. Did you ever go see that movie Ben-Hur? Lasted 4 days and 5 nights. That's what their schedule is. Look at their schedule. Man, they played 3 3 of the top 5 teams in the country.
Now,
I feel bad for him.
I don't feel bad for them, but I mean, they play Alabama,
poor
Clemson,
Gamecocks.
and Georgia.
Tough.
And 2 of them are their best rivals, and 2 of them they're 0-3 against, right?
yes.
This is 4th year?
Yeah. It's tough.
Poor Will.
My buddy Jonathan Hampton says, what are your thoughts on starting receivers for game 1 being different than at the end of the season? Same goes for linebackers. Do you think we'll see some shakeup there over the course of the year? I absolutely do. No question about it.
But you can say that about any team.
Yeah.
I'm not putting down the question.
Sure,
I'm just
sure.
saying that's be it injury or freshman
We
coming
just
in.
play so many more receivers and linebackers than we do any other position. We don't rotate defensive backs much except for nickel and dime. We don't rotate offensive linemen hardly at all. We put a guy in there when somebody's hurt. So, but backer, outside backer, there's going to be a lot of guys playing, and receivers, there's going to be a lot of them playing special teams. And I will just say this, that on that walkthrough that I had watching the camp, I had a chance to walk by Pickens. I had a chance to walk by Blaylock. I had a chance to walk by Carter. And I'm glad they're here. They all look good. They weren't throwing the ball. They were doing the agility, which we'll talk about. But 3 good additions to the wide receiver room. I do feel like that room is good enough without them, and you add those 3. But everybody knows what Holloman can do, what Simmons can do, and Karis Jackson's going to really come focus and really come on. And then Robertson, I think, is just too bad he didn't play in the spring game, but he had a heck of a spring. That's 4 pretty good players before you even start talking about those other guys. And then the guy that's really the one that everybody's talking about over there. Have you seen Matt Landers? Hey, I mean, that's one of the first things people – so pretty good situation there.
Yeah. I think we talk a lot about starters, but I think what's more appropriate for readers at UGAsports.com, 27 cents a day, is to check out every Sunday or Monday when we put up the snap count. We get that from Pro Football Focus. Brent Rollins and the folks over there do a great job. Trent's done it for years. They will go through and say, here's how many plays they got. Now, even then, that's not a great indicator because sometimes guys are getting in for the different packages you're running, but I think – just because you start the game doesn't mean you're head and shoulders above everybody else. It could be that certain package they want to run on that first play. Look at the snap count numbers. That, to me, tells a lot more about what Georgia's priorities are and who's making waves, whatever adjective you want to use, phrase, about how important these guys are. Look how many snaps they're getting in a game.
Sure.
Right. And then they also do the percentage. So if Georgia, plays 100 snaps on offense, just to pick a round number that would be crazy, if this player didn't start, but he was out there on 65% of the snaps, well, hell, that's a pretty important wide receiver.
I think starters not near as big as you, but anybody in college or pro right now that's not using Pro Football Focus, it's dumb.
Hey,
with a capital D.
The teams are lining up.
That service, and Brent Rollins put me on it, thanks to you. I'm just telling you, you save so much time and you get so much info that helps you prepare and study for your opponents, plus self-scout yourself, which we used to take forever to do. Now it's just right there. That whoever came up with that deal right there is the Einstein of college and pro football. I'm telling you, that was brilliant.
Which was a British guy.
He was British?
Yeah. Was
he a soccer guy?
I don't think so. I think he just liked American football.
Well,
so.
Italian guy discovered America, so what that?
Some Italian guy he's going the wrong way. He missed stuff.
It took 3 ships to do it, but he got it.
I want to give a big shout out to UrPie, one of our biggest sponsors. We've had a ton of people recently, including a former intern, hit me up and say, "Hey, I went this town or that town." And guess what they have here? They have UrPie. We got a ton of testimonials. If you follow me on Twitter, you'll see I retweet them out each time. People talking to us saying how much they enjoyed trying UrPie for the first time or for the 50th time, how much they enjoy it. We have what is our former intern is now engaged.
Yes.
But he's going to be, Chris Lambert is what's he doing in the military?
Yeah, officer school. He's
officer school in Columbus.
Yes, in Columbus.
Right.
Yep.
So he's changing his entire life. He's going to be an officer, and we appreciate his service. Good guy. When he's done, we'll probably wind up working for him. He has to move to Columbus. One of the first things he does when he's looking around down there, sees a Yurpai in Columbus.
Of course.
So you know that things are trending Lambert's way. Officer school, engagement, and a Yurpai in town.
Yeah.
Everything's coming up, Chris.
There you
go. Kid's got it made. So and we wish him the best. He's a great guy, and we look forward to having him back on the show one day.
I want to cut one more slice off here. Speaking of Yurpai, my guy Gerald Shepard says, Coach, don't forget to talk about what you saw at those workouts.
Okay, every day in the summer they have different kind of workouts. Like a team run or and then they lift and do all that. But they also have what they call just to kind of explain to the fans, it's like a county fair where if you go to a fair, you have all these different rides where you have all these different stations, like 8 or 9 stations that have different kind of agility drills, like might be over the bags, might be around the circle, sprinting, changing direction, being on your back, getting up, breaking down, all that stuff. And the overwhelming thing to me about watching our guys, which was last week, June, whatever that was, like 10th, is the kind of physical condition that our team is able to withstand that kind of constant work, 3 or 4 minutes at each station. And, back in the old days, you'd always have 2 or 3 guys falling out. I mean, there's nothing wrong with that early. But our team, I worry about us peaking too quick. I mean, we look conditioning-wise, it overwhelmed me. And then the other thing was the size and speed is there, but I didn't see many fat turds out there. I didn't see anybody out there that looked to me like slot. And these walk-ons too, but overall our athleticism was overwhelming. We just got to stay healthy because a couple positions we don't need it. But, I don't want to build it up too much and be unfair to anybody, but a collection of talent, speed, talent, athleticism, attitude, everything out there was I just give it a check to the max. It was good, and I was happy about that day. And I tell you, that night when I went home, probably the best night of sleep I've had in a long time, thinking about the old Dogs, how we're going to be, because I saw those young players that we're recruiting. I saw the young players that are coming in. I saw the players that we got. And to me, I went to sleep James Brown. I feel good.
So sleep well, Georgia fans, until the next time we have a show, which, like I said, should be in about 3 weeks.
2 weeks without the show?
2 weeks without the show.
Hard to believe it.
Hard to believe. Enjoy your summer. I think this is the first official week of summer. I think it's just now starting. So, of course, big shout-out to our sponsors, Athens Ford, Academia Brewing Company, Yurpai, Cable East, and, of course, 365 Game Day. You're on their page right now. Give them a like if you would. They also have a lot of fun content there, so it's a good page to follow. And, of course, Champions here on Baxter Street, come in and have a nice brew and a big plate of fried chicken like the plate we got in front of us. We will talk to you soon. Follow us on Twitter.
UGASports.com.
Go to UGASports.com. Follow us on Twitter. We'll let you know when we have the next show coming up. Y'all take care.
That's it for this episode of the UGA Sports Live Podcast. Tune in next week for more Georgia Bulldogs news and notes from Athens.